Why are we struggling? Why are we suffering? Cut it out. In the beginning of your business, there's only you and time. Unless you have money somewhere else that's feeding your business, you only have your time and you. And there are things you have to do that suck. However, you can build a business and a plan. Here's the things I really need to get rid of. This has to leave my plate because it is killing me to get these things done. And that's where we start. We start with the concept of, what do you want your life to look like?
Buckle up for a new episode of the S.H.E podcast, the show where we have real and raw conversations to inspire and empower you to be seen and heard so you can create balance in everything you want in your life and business. I'm your host, Heidi S.H.E, and I'm excited to walk alongside of you on this journey of being seen, heard, and empowered. Welcome to another episode of the S.H.E podcast. Be seen, be heard, be empowered. And I have a really cool, geeky guest with me today that I'm really excited to be bringing with you. We've just had an awesome behind the scenes conversation. I already know from our conversation that this is going to be a really fun episode. So if you're driving or whatever you're doing, make sure you buckle up and get ready because we are going to rock and roll in this episode today. So before we get started, welcome Angela Mondor. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. And like you said, I know we're going to have lots of fun today.
Absolutely. Before we dive in, Angela, I'm going to give everybody a little background into you. So Angela Mondor, also known as the Geeky Girl, hosts the Overgivers Anonymous podcast, guiding listeners towards balanced living and business success. She is also dedicated to empowering neurodivergent entrepreneurs. As the creator of the Rockstar Business Planner, she provides strategic planning tools that help business owners achieve their goals. So my first question for you, Angela, is something I ask all my guests to really get the conversation going and dive in, is what you do and how you help neurodivergent entrepreneurs inside of your business right now. Is this something that you had to navigate yourself as you were growing your business, and now you've taken what you've learned and you help others? Or is this a passion that you had and you went to school and you grew your expertise there? Which one was it?
Yeah, so I've been neurodiverse my whole life, but I didn't know that until I was in my 30s. So school was never something that ever worked well for me. However, I am an avid learner. I've learned from the school of hard knocks, shall we say. So working in the corporate world, I've worked closely with CEOs and vice presidents and presidents, and I've learned from them so that when I did end up going on my own and through the hard knocks, because I didn't have anybody to hold my hand, I've learned a lot of things throughout the path. And when I found out that I was neurodivergent, and it sort of obviously shed some light, it's like, oh, well, now I understand why things are so crazy. And then, as we say, we like a collects like, right? And the people that I help, when I look back on who I've been helping my whole career, it's like, okay, I'm helping them because I understand them. I can help them and show them what works for me. So it's kind of a column A, column B situation on that one.
Now it leads me to so many other questions just by what you just shared right now. The first one is, okay, I have two questions. I don't know which one to ask first. How did you find out that you're neurodivergent? And for those listening that don't know what that is, can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So I'll start with the explain part first, just to make sure everybody's clear. So I have ADHD. I also have something called OCPD, which is obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Basically, it just means I really need to have things in places.
Very organized, super organized.
Yes, mostly. Yeah. If the keys aren't in the key bowl, I can't find them, right? My water belongs here on my desk, and I've had days when I've come to work and I put it there for some reason, and I can't find it for hours until I get on a call with somebody on Zoom and go, oh, there it is.
Okay. That's very interesting.
I definitely need, everything has a place and every place has a thing. It's very important to my sanity. Some might say that's part of my ADHD anyway.
Can you come to my house?
Anybody with ADHD typically is really good at organizing other people's houses. And it manifests differently in everybody. My ADHD is going to be different than somebody else's. It depends on your experience, when you found out, what your coping mechanisms are, all those kinds of things.
Mm.
Basically, what it means is I just think differently than your neurotypical person. And so, therefore, a lot of the things that I was trying to do in life using typical advice wasn't working for me.
Mm.
I was working corporately and burning out hardcore fast. And there was one day I literally, you could always tell how stressed I was in my job, depending on how full the bottom drawer of my desk was with candy. One Friday, I realized that I was going to snap. It was over. I literally packed up my desk and went home on Friday and called in sick on the Monday. I couldn't get out of like I took my kids to school. I did what I had to do from a mother's perspective, but I couldn't get out of the couch for 5 days. I was actually seeing a psychiatrist at the time. She was amazing. And during our journey together, working on what was happening, that's how I found out about my neurodivergent self. And funny enough, I was in my 30s at the time. 2 weeks after I found out I had ADHD, my youngest daughter was diagnosed with ADHD as well.
Wow. Yeah, my son has ADHD, and they say that, from what I've heard, I don't know who they are, but they say that if you are ADHD, you most likely have a parent who is ADHD, who has that same diagnosis. And I know my husband, my ex-husband, his dad says that he was ADHD. I tend to think that I have ADD, or some form of that as well. So what clarity did that bring for you, or when you finally, realized or was learned about what was happening with you? How did that feel, or what clarity did that bring to your life?
The clarity didn't come. At
Yeah.
first, it was simply, here's what I have, here's how I'm dealing with it. I'm very, very grateful to the woman who spent time with me. She was able to help me to create coping mechanisms, but also to help me recognize the coping mechanisms I had built up since I was a child to get me through life. So using that was very helpful to me. And then I actually joined an organization. I went to a workshop, let's call it what it is, and it was Women Who Launch. And it was a bunch of us women together who were launching businesses, and I was told, you know what, you should try this. Go do this. And so I went through their program and launched Geeky Girl in 2009. I've looked over my shoulder a few times, but I haven't gone back to corporate.
Yeah. Well, my question for you before that, remember when I said I had two questions that I didn't know which one
Yeah.
to ask first? You kind of answered it. My question was, why did you leave corporate? And was it the burnout? Was that your main reason?
Oh yes. Yeah, 100%. There's kind of like a double-edged sword to that. The burnout was caused because I worked for one organization that I loved. I still to this day love this organization, love the people in the organization, love everything about them. However, I started working with them on the switchboard, right? Because I didn't have the education, right? But then I moved up through the ranks, and I had said to my boss at the time, I'm like, I deserve a raise. Here's how much money I believe that I'm worth for this company to pay me. And I worked hard, but I wasn't burnt out there, even though I was doing a lot because I was being fed in other ways, right? It wasn't financial, but it was other ways. He couldn't see the money side to it. He actually called me a lost leader at one point, which really pissed me off. So he wasn't able to come up with the finances to cover that. And I have to say, when I left that organization, they replaced me with 3 people. So if they had just paid me, it wouldn't have
Right.
cost them nearly as much. Nonetheless, I went to the next job where they paid me what I was worth, but I didn't do anything. There was no recognition. There was nothing to feed me on the other side of it. And then the next job I had, they paid me what I wanted, but I was so overwhelmed and so overworked, and there was nothing satisfying about the job. That's where it came from. It wasn't necessary. The burnout came from not being fulfilled. That's where
Yeah.
it came from.
Yeah. And I love that we kind of moved into this direction of this conversation, because I think that's a key point that I've never actually thought about before. And maybe if you're listening, you haven't thought about this before. If you feel like you're on burnout, it may not be that you're necessarily overworked, or it could be that you're just not happy. You're not fulfilled. We will do more and be more productive when we are feeling fulfilled. And happiness in a job or in our business or anything like that comes from, are we really lit up to get up every day and do the things that we are committed to be doing in whatever role we chose to be in that moment. And if you're at a job and you're listening and you feeling like burnout is coming or you're feeling overwhelmed, it may not be looking at the money, because there are a lot of people making a ton of money and they are literally ready to slam into burnout. And unfortunately, burnout comes without realizing it's coming. I know for me, it really slammed me. I didn't know it was coming. And then all of a sudden it showed up. And it was because I was on that rat race and I wasn't happy and I couldn't figure out why. I was feeling like I'm falling into bed every night, like exhausted, and then getting up and rinsing and repeating it. And I was on this hamster wheel of hell, like, with lack of a better word. So I'm really glad that you shared that, because I think it's very important for people to, like, you literally, when we're recording this, we are moving into 2025. We're in November as Angela and I are talking. When this comes out, we could be in 2025. And I want to share with you, whenever you're listening to this, whether you listen to it when it drops or you listen to it in the future, I want you to know that you have a choice. And at the end of the day, your happiness, and it's kind of funny. I grew up, Angela, hearing from my parent, like my father, all the time. When you're happy doing what you do, the money will always be there. And I never believed that. I always felt like I had to chase the job and I had to learn more to chase the job that was going to have the better salary, right? The better money, so I could have a nice life. And at the end of the day, I'm 52 now, and it took me God knows how many years to learn that I wish I would have done what really made me happy and lit up when I was in my 20s. I would be so much further now. And God knows only knows what I could have created in that space of really doing something that I was lit up on. So I'm so glad that the world now has you in entrepreneurship and as a leader in the business space, helping neurodivergent entrepreneurs. So can you tell us more about how you help them grow their business? And I know you have a strategic guide or plan that you share with people. Tell us about that, please.
Sure, sure. You know what? I think the biggest problem with the difference that we see between a neurotypical and a neurodivergent people, we don't want to be put in a box unless we've made our own box. We're happy with our own boxes, but we don't want other people to put us in a box. And so part of that is looking at the entrepreneurial world as we see it. We got the hustle culture, which poo-poo doesn't work for us as neurodivergent human beings. Let's be honest, it doesn't work for women most times. We need more sleep than men. Then on top of that, we've got...
Thank you. Say that louder.
Right? Yes. There's all kinds of other different rhythms, just even as a woman, that matter to us. But on top of that, when you talk about the different ways that our brains function, we need different tools in order to make things happen. I literally had a moment the other day. It was hilarious. Like I said earlier, I was not really good at school, right? Like school was not, I mean, I'm really good at getting out of school. My husband's a teacher, which is hilarious.
That is a riot. That's a really...
He talks about his students. I'm like, I'm sorry, but that was me.
That was so good. That's so good.
But I'm literally going through a course right now for certification and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I got tests in this, and my anxiety, right, comes up. But I know more about myself now. So when I'm going through this course, I'm listening to it at 2 times. I'm reading it while I'm listening to it at 2 times. I'm getting 100% on those tests because I now know how I can consume that information differently than the way another person would. Somebody else might go 2 times, holy crap, I can't even think that fast, right? I need to listen to it at 1.5 times, not even, or like even 0.5 times rather than 1 times. So understanding who you are as a human being is really important when it comes to the neurodivergence of our lives. And that's the number one thing I help people with. Where are you right now? What's working for you? What isn't working for you? What fills you up and what drains you? We are not going to put the effort towards the things that drain us. It's going to be painful and difficult. Why are we struggling? Why are we suffering? Cut it out. In the beginning of your business, there's only you and time. That's true. Unless you have money somewhere else that's feeding your business, you only have your time in you. And there are things you have to do that suck. However, you can build a business and a plan to really identify, here's the things I really need to get rid of. This has to leave my plate because it is killing me to get these things done. And that's where we start. We start with the concept of, what do you want your life to look like? What are the things that are important to you? And when I started my business in 2009, what I wanted then is so much different than what I want in 2024, 2025. My children are adults now. So it changes, right? So it's about where are you now? What's important to you now? And how can you build a plan together to make this happen? Literally, I was meeting with the Rockstar Mastermind recently, which is one of the programs that I offer. And we went through, what do you want 2025 to look like? What are the things that are going to be important? And not just about your business, but your life. What's that whole
Yeah.
plan going to look like? Because our life impacts our business and our business impacts our life. It's just the way it works. And so what do you want it all to look like? Think about the whole puzzle, right? And then next week, we're actually meeting for our planning party because yes, it's strategic planning, but we like to have a little more fun. And then we can encompass, what is it we want for the whole picture to be put together.
Yeah, I love that you're having a party. And anytime that you're promoting anything, and I love that we talked about this behind the scenes, and I definitely wanted to bring in the party aspect of it because when it comes to building a business, there's, the hustle mentality or the hustle culture that you brought up. That was how business had to be, and how when I joined entrepreneurship, it's like you gotta hustle. It's very masculine driven. For me, that's what led to burnout.
Mhm.
I was hustling, hustling, hustling. I was also a single mom. I'm still a single mom. My kids are 15 and 16, or yeah, my son will, I'm sorry, I aged them already. My son's going to be 14. My daughter's 15. She wants to be 16 so she can have her license already, but we're not there yet. Thank you.
Fair.
Yes, just everybody help me when that happens because I'm already scared. But yeah, when it comes to building a business, I like you're out there changing the dynamic of it and going, this doesn't have to be hustle. It doesn't have to be go, go, go all the time because doing, yes, there are times we have to do it. It's a non-negotiable. When you're just starting out, you've got to focus on generating revenue. If you don't generate revenue, you're not going to be in business long. If you don't generate revenue, you have a very expensive hobby. We want a successful business. And again, also don't look at people where they are that have been doing this for 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 years when you're just starting out. It's really key too, because they've had their journey and they've gone on their own journey. And like you said, everybody learns differently. So you do you. And I love how you allow people the grace and the space to figure out how they best consume and how they best learn and what's going to work best for them on their lifestyle. And you mentioned another key piece, which is your business affects your life affects your business. So how are we going to best mesh those two together to make both successful? And I don't believe in work-life balance. I'm not going to get into that right now. I've already talked about it a lot. There's always going to be a teetering of the scale depending on where, not to say it's never going to be balanced, but most of the time it's one way or the other, right?
I'm with you. I don't think there's balance. I'm leaning towards the word flow more now.
I say
Flow.
work-life grace. Like give ourselves work-life grace. Sometimes Angela's going to need more Angela time. Your family's going to need more of you time with
Yeah.
them. And your business is going to need more of you in that space. And it's a matter of why are we going to feel bad about not having that balance and set ourselves up for failure? Let's just give ourselves grace and go, okay, let's communicate amongst everyone and go, listen, hey, my client needs me right now. You guys, dad, kids, you got dinner, right?
Yeah.
Tonight, you might make mom dinner, or right, vice versa. Hey, my kids and my family need me more today. I'm going to shut the door and close the door at 3 p.m. today. Whatever
Yeah.
it looks like. Yeah.
And there's
Um,
ages and stages when we talk about raising children. It's the same in your life. When
yeah,
you have young children, that's a different age and stage than when, like now, my children are
absolutely.
25 and 30.
Yeah.
That's a different stage. As you get older, now you might have aged parents you have to look after. Like that's an entirely different age and stage. These are all things that matter into the entire puzzle.
Yeah, and like you said, everything's going to change and evolve. You mentioned that, and I love that because your why. I'm sure you talk about your why with your clients. Like, what is your why of why you're wanting to do this and begin the entrepreneurship road? Because it's not easy, and none of us as coaches or mentors are sugarcoating that. At least the good ones aren't. We're honest with you. Why do you want to do this? And your why is going to evolve and change. You mentioned you're an empty nester. My why when I started was I wanted to be home with my kids, right? I wanted that flexibility to pick them up if they called me from school. They're moving into 14, 15, 16 few years there. I'm going to be an empty nester. My
Well,
why I want to keep doing this will change, right?
I gotta say, I got some bad news for you. I am not an empty nester. The
Oh,
world has
well,
changed.
that's the thing. I don't mind. Like I think I would love for my kids to stay with me. That's not necessarily a horrible thing. Like as a mom, you're like, is that really bad? I don't know. But they don't need you on the day to day. Like you
Yes.
have to go do pickup where, you got to revolve your work life around picking them up. Yes, you probably want to cook dinner for them because as a mom, we want to nurture and all that things. But I don't know. I say that, but again, I'm not a cook. Like I'm more of a like, what do you want to
Me
order
either.
type of thing. I'm
I'll
not
grow the
that.
food. I just don't want to cook it.
I'm not like all I'm not like the hugely domesticated mom. I do the best I can. Not one of my strengths. That's all I'll share. So I love that you talked about, everything's going to evolve as you're evolving and give yourself grace and understand who you are and you do you. That was a really key takeaway that I had from you. And I also want to share with all of you listening. And I told Angela I was going to share this behind the scenes because I am a visibility coach and a business strategy coach. And that word strategy has always like kind of irked me, even though that's what we call ourselves, like a business strategy or strategy coach. It's not fun. It's really not fun. So I love how you put the party into your strategic planning sessions with your clients because I think it's really important that we bring the fun into our world. We get one go round on this, and building a business is not easy, and it's not always going to be filled with cupcakes and sprinkles. So if we can bring the party and we can bring the fun as much as into it as possible, let's do that. So can you tell us, because I'll remember as you're talking, can you tell us what the biggest challenge was when you left corporate, right? That was you had your paycheck, you had your salary. I'm sure you were crushing it out there, knowing a little bit, the little that I know about you. When you moved into entrepreneurship, what were the biggest challenges that you had, or your one biggest challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah. So, I mean, because I've been in business since 2009, there's been a lot of challenges. Let's just be honest. We have challenges as we move through. Um, Leaving corporate, I think that the biggest challenge was now I had to figure out how to generate income off of my skills and my talent.
Mm.
When I left corporate, I literally reverted back to what I had done earlier in my corporate world, which is I was your IT girl. All right. I came into your business and I helped you run cables, fix your printers, computers, that kind of thing. I was working with software and that kind of thing. And then I think that my biggest lesson in my journey of entrepreneurship is to have your eyes open for opportunities, but then be careful because an opportunity is only a good opportunity if it's leading you towards where you would like to go, what direction you want to head in. I had one of these air quote opportunities that came up many years ago. I wasn't prepared for it to be a bad opportunity. So somebody had said, I know exactly how to help you. I'm going to help you build your business. You're going to make this money, blah, 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 as a coach. And I accepted that this person knew what they were doing and they were really good at sales. Let's call it what it was. Anyway, I lost 10 grand that year just to pay for the services of that person, but I lost a whole lot more in business revenue and time because I had to rebuild the business once we were done. What
Mm.
I learned most from that is if you don't have a plan, somebody else is going to make a plan for you. When that opportunity, quote unquote, right, opportunity showed up, I didn't have anything to base it on. I just took that person at their word. I had been following them for a while. I thought they were credible. It sounded like they knew what they were doing and they could help. So I just said yes. Now, if one of those quote unquote opportunities show up, my first thought is this opportunity going to help me to get to where I'm trying to go or not? The next question is, if it's yes, yes, that opportunity is going to take me where I want to go. Is it going to have the tools I need to learn the way I need to learn in order to
Mm.
get me where to go?
That's
Because
good.
just because somebody's a great coach doesn't mean to say they're the right coach for you. They might teach in a different way than you're comfortable with. So now, because I have my strategy, and I know where I'm headed, and I know myself more. Now I can look at those opportunities and quickly, rather than getting stuck in that analysis paralysis mode of, is this right? Is this right? I can now go, oh, does it check this box? Does it check that box? Yes or no? Okay, move on. So for me, that was a massive move forward, and has really led to a lot of the things that I do now.
Yeah, and that's a huge learning point that at least you learned quickly and you didn't repeat that same mistake over and over and over again, which would have cost you more money
Yes.
and more inside of your business client wise. And because I really love that you talked into like knowing what you need for you. And is it the right thing? Will this work for me to get to my goal, to reach my goal? Yes. Okay, great. Now, is this going to be effective for me? Am I going to be able to get what I need to get out of it? I know it'll work, but is it the right thing for me specifically? And I think that's a good point and takeaway for you listening. Like, this is why it's so important to really put your stake in the ground and get clear on your branding, who you are, what your missions are, what your core values are, because as much as we want to work with clients, we want to attract the people who are our dream people and right for us, and also who we are right for. And that comes with the clarity of like you're now able to get clear. Are they going, do I really want to work with this person? I know they're good at what they do, but are they a right fit for me? Is their personality, are we value aligned? Because if you're not value aligned, it doesn't matter how good they are. You're not going to respect them to learn from them.
Well, it comes back to that point we talked about earlier about burnout. If I'm working with a client and they're paying me X amount of dollars to work with them, and I'm pouring everything into them, and if I feel like the energetic part isn't right, then it's not going to feel like they're paying me enough money. It's going to feel like I'm burning out. And same from the other side. If I'm a client of somebody and I'm paying them and they are not pouring into me the way that I need to be poured into, the energy is not right. You're going to have a disconnect and it's going to feel like burnout for sure.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. If you're not watching on YouTube, go check us out on YouTube because you can see her background there. It is stellar as a visibility coach. Like, this is how you want to show up on camera. Her lighting is fantastic. Her background is gorgeous. It's clean, it's crisp, it's clear, and I'm not overwhelmed. There's people that like many times, and my lighting is not very good right now. It's dark. I'm in Florida and we're starting to get dark, and the lighting in this room is not great. So I just wanted to shout that out, because if you are looking to grow your presence online, take a cue from Angela because it's awesome.
Thank you so much.
She
You
knows
know
what
what?
she's doing.
For me, I love the ability. I got these shelves and I have the ability to sort of change them out for seasons and I get to change them up a little bit. So I'm not bored at looking at the two. So
Yeah. So can you share how you help your client? What if somebody's listening and they're like, I want to learn more about Angela and how like her program, what can you share with us?
yeah. So, I mean, the number one thing, if you are struggling in your business right now and you're like, I know and I hate to shit on you because I don't like shitting on anybody, but if you're shitting on yourself and you're saying, I should have a plan and I just don't know what it is, or I have a plan, it doesn't work for me, and I just don't know how to get back on the rails after, the Rockstar Success Circle is the best place for you. We have a 90-day planner, so we have 4 planners a year. I really believe strongly that what you do in your business today shows up 90 days later. That's why we broke it down into 90 days always. Yes, we have planning parties, we have yearly planning parties, we have quarterly planning parties, we have monthly planning parties, and it allows us to be able to focus on what's important in our business, not just what's happening in the business today and now, but like I said, what's happening in the whole scope of your life and how can we plan things to work for you. And then the whole concept is your journey through your strategy. Nobody likes the word strategy. We just haven't come up with a fun one yet,
There
but
isn't a better
nobody
word
likes
out
it, but
there
it's
yet.
true,
Yeah.
right?
We're
It
going to
is
powwow after this and
okay,
think
we'll
of
do
some
that.
other words.
It is not a turn-by-turn GPS plan. Okay. It is simply a GPS now. Like you are looking at a compass. This is the direction I'm headed. And if for some reason, whether it's family, whether it's yourself, whether it's something else, sometimes like we have no control over some things that happen and you come off the path, it gives you the option to come back on because you know the direction you're heading. So we walk through those things all year long. We help you to make sure that you understand how you can get back on track to your plan or how you need to shuffle or change the plan if it's not working out for you. So the Rockstar Success Circle is a very powerful place to be for you to get a handle on your business and to make your life better as well, not just your business.
So again, your business is an extension of you, right? So everything you create inside of your brand has to do with who you are personally. And I talk about this, and I like that love that you're bringing this up, because if you're single, your brand is going to be reflective of those pieces. Once you get married or have a partnership and you bring, or a family, that is also going to be reflected in your brand. So I love what you're doing. If they want more information on how to join or just get more information on your Rockstar program, how can they find more things out about it?
Sure. You can go to geekygirl.ca, which is Canada. And I'm sure, in your show notes, you'll probably,
We
if
will have it. Mhm.
you'll probably have an affiliate link directly to that Rockstar Success Circle there to get you on the quick track. But you can find me everywhere if you just go into geekygirl.ca. In fact, we have a page called Everything. So you go geekygirl.ca/everything, and it'll give you everything.
Beautiful. And I know she has some freebies out there too. So if you're not ready for necessarily diving into this into the program, go grab her valuable content, because obviously Angela is full of knowledge. She's a wealth of knowledge, and she's going to get you on the right track with whatever your needs are. So Angela, I'm so happy to have you on, and I'm so grateful that you're here today. I have one final question. I love the name Geeky Girl. I know that you are into tech and everything, but this is another thing about branding. You've really done a great job about branding yourself. So how did you come up with the Geeky Girl concept and name for your company?
Thank you so much. It's funny because it was during the the Ladies Who Launch, which is what that program was. We had all kind of brainstormed, help each other out with things. And when I birthed the Geeky Girl, and it became a business, the flack I got from women was crazy. There was so many women who were like, "You can't call yourself a girl. That's demeaning and blah blah blah." But I lived through it, and I still believe that it's totally cool. It keeps me young. I mean, I'm 52 as well, so I mean, I don't look at it that way, and I think that's important from a branding perspective. Like, if you resonate with it, if it's something that's important to you, just poo-poo the naysayers. They're just not the right people for you, because the right people who do business with me, like every single business person that I've done business with has said, "Oh, I love your name."
Mhm.
Anybody who has said, "Oh, your name is silly," I've never done business with them. So don't worry about it.
I never even thought twice about you having the name girl in there. Like, it never even crossed my mind. And again, that goes back to the point. Put your stake in the ground when it comes to what you want to create and how you want to brand yourself. You get to have opinions and you get to stand on them. You get to create a name that really resonates with you, because when Angela's showing up authentically. This is what she wants to call her company, and this is what she resonates with. And this is all about authenticity, and she crushing it because she shows up authentically and unapologetically. And that's a big piece of being seen and heard, which is what this podcast is all about. So empower yourself to be seen and heard, and take a stand for what you want to create unapologetically, no matter what people say. And sometimes the people that are the naysayers are the ones that are closest to you. But stand your ground, reach out to people, find community, like-minded individuals who are going to support you, raise you up, and cheer you on. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. I
Yes.
love I
Beautiful.
love that. I love the name. I'm like, so I love it. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's so good. So good. So fun. It's very fun. And that's where really, like, one of the core values I can see inside of your business is fun. Like, you want
Yes.
people to have fun. That's why you have the party. And it's, yes, we're strategically planning for your future. Yeah, and we get to have some fun along the way. Um, Going to as far as, and I wanted to talk into your future, because you brought up like that you do a 90-day platform, like a 90-day planning session, because you believe what you do in the 90 day, what you do now shows up in 90 days, which I love. And I've never heard it put that way. And I know there's a lot of people out there, we're moving into a new year, 2025, and they'll say, what are your goals for the next 5 years and 3 years and 1 year? And that's always been a struggle for me. Like, what are my next 5 year goals? And I'm like, I'm an idiot. Like, why can't I get this down? Everybody's telling me, all the gurus out there and all the people that are wealthy are saying we got to plan 10 years ahead. I'm like, I can't even think that far ahead. So I love that you do the 90 days. That being said, I do think there's value in really planning out your 12 months to break down your goals, because without knowing what you want 12 months from now, so especially now, like, you're having a strategic party, it's November, and you're having your clients, you're coming together for that. They get to lay out what they want to create in 2025. That's how you break down the 90-day segments. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we do things slightly different from what the corporate world would do, which of course shouldn't surprise anybody because we do everything different. But when you talk about, oh, everybody talks about I should have a 3, a 5, a 10. I've never been a fan of those either, because it's very hard to wrap my head around. And as a neurodivergent person, it can be very difficult to think in those terms, because there's so much that could happen between now and 10 years. Like, what if that's not right? And the goals are so big that it's hard for us to put brain power around. Um, and I will say that, I have only one major goal in the next, let's call it year and a half now, because my husband's retiring. And that's because we're moving to the east coast of Canada. So there's some things that we have to do to make sure that we're ready to move there in our trajectory. But we don't generally do big plans like that. You're right. It's difficult. And most neurodivergent people can't function in that way. And a lot of neurodivergent people can't even function on the 12 months. But we address the 12 months because it's important and it's painful. I get it, but we work through it. So talking about where you want to go in the next 12 months is important. But then we say, well, out of those 12 months, remember that you don't have to do everything tomorrow. Like it's not all
Right.
about tomorrow, right? So then we break things down into quarters. So in Q1, what are you going to accomplish in Q1? Fantastic. Okay, so now that we've looked at what we want to accomplish for the whole year and we've broken it down, we only need to focus on this a little bit. Fantastic. Then we do January. We're going to plan for January. Out of your Q1 goals now, what are you going to do in January? Right? Now we're just focusing on January.
Mhm.
And out of our January goals, now we can create our non-negotiables. What are the things we're going to do weekly? What are the things that are going to get us towards this goal? Now it's easy on the neurodivergent brain because we're not focused on, oh, I have to make X amount of money this year, or I have to reach this many people this year. If you think, oh, I have to create 52 podcast episodes, or I have to create 52 blog posts, like that's a lot. But if you're
Yeah.
like, I just have one this week, I got to do one this week, right? It's way easier to handle, especially with our neurodivergent brain. So when we're not working on the big goals, even though we're tricking you really. We're focused on the pebbles.
Mhm.
When we
Oh, that's
focus
good.
on the pebbles, they roll up to the rocks, which rolls up to the boulders.
Mhm.
So you are working towards a big goal as long as you're breaking it backwards.
Yeah, I love that. I love it because it's easy. It's easier to digest and it's easier to get excited about accomplishing that. And you are also, I'm sure, focusing on celebrating that moment when you accomplish those goals, which is like, okay,
Yes.
I did that one podcast episode or I did that solo. And it's really about getting out of your comfort zone. What do you want to accomplish this week? And many times it is out of our comfort zone. I know for me, I've been doing this podcast for a year and a half. You look back on my episodes, and I'm getting very honest here to you listeners as well. I'm not perfect when it comes to this. If you look at my episodes, there are probably 95% of them are guests. Probably four are solos. That is my stretch for 2025. I get to literally start doing at least two a month. And I get to focus on, okay, how do I create those two a month and not focus on, oh, that's 24 over the course of a year, or that's 48 if I want to get like one dropped every week. What does that look like? And how I can find space in my calendar to make that happen and then celebrate when I accomplish
Yeah.
one small pebble.
The celebration is so important. It's important for us to realize here's what I accomplished. Here's what I did. Because we're very quick to say, oh, here's what I forgot to do, or here's what I didn't do, or here's what's missing, or here's what didn't work. It's important to learn our lessons from those things, yes, but it's really important to say here's my successes and here's what worked well for me because I really believe that when we look at a SWOT analysis, which is the strengths and the weaknesses and the opportunities and the threats in our businesses, our weaknesses are things we want to spend less time on. Those are the things we're going to outsource. Those are the things we're getting rid of. We're going to focus on our strengths. So, what works best for us? Those are the things that are our strengths. So, how do we spend more time there? So, celebrating is important. And who doesn't love new school supplies? I mean, right? So every quarter, I get a brand new book that's all clean and ready to start again. I'm in.
Oh, so fun. Yes, absolutely. I'm all about new journals and new pens and new all the things.
Yes.
Yeah, I get excited too. I'm a little bit of a geeky nerd myself when it comes to
There you
that.
go.
So one last question, and then I'm going to just ask you one final question after that, which is going to be any last tips or things you want to share. But before we get to that, and also where can we find you on social media and things like that so people can follow you? And we're going to have all of this information in the show notes as well for you listening. But is there a fun fact about you that you can share that we wouldn't know, like a behind the scenes of Angela that we wouldn't know, just, checking you out on social or seeing your website?
You'd have to be really astute to find it because I'm sure it's out there somewhere. But I love D&D, so Dungeons and Dragons, a Pathfinder,
Oh,
tabletop games. Absolutely have loved that for years, and I almost always will play a barbarian raging guy, who's just like beating down doors. It's just
So cool. I would have never guessed that. That's awesome. I love this question because I get to learn so much more about you. This is so fantastic. Any last nuggets, gold nugget, or anything you'd like to share, things that we didn't get to talk about today?
Yeah, I actually, this is a freebie on my website, so you can go dig for it. Like it's on my everything page. You don't have to dig for it. It's right there. But even if you don't get the freebie, what I encourage you to do is spend some time alone, whether you journal, whether you speak into existence by yourself, whether you record yourself on audio, however you get this out, get it out of your head. And I want you to think about what's your most perfect day. What is
Mhm.
something that you would wake up to and go, this is my most perfect day? What does it feel like? What kind of covers are on top of you? Or do you have any covers on top of you? When you step out of your bed, what does it feel like? How does your day evolve and what are the things that happen? Use that to really help you to figure out what is your best choices and how you create your life. And I trust me, this will help you to build an amazing life and business around what you truly want to create in your life.
Oh, I love that because that leans into this also gives you permission to be unapologetic about it. When you have that clarity that you can say, like, I don't care what people think or what they say. This is my dream for myself, and this is what I get to do to make it happen. So good. Great gold nugget there. Thank you, Angela. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure having you and having this on here and having this conversation. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom and sharing your journey, your struggles, your challenges, and also how you help other entrepreneurs in doing what you do.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Like I said, it's been a blast. It's
It
awesome.
has been so much fun. So make sure you, if you haven't, check us out on YouTube so you can see her background because I absolutely love it. And blue is my favorite color, so I'm a little biased there. So thank you for listening today. Make sure you join us for the next episode of the She podcast. Also, if you haven't already, please leave us a review if you've enjoyed this episode and go be empowered to be seen and heard. We'll see you again soon.